How's it going, chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass lead up to the holiday season. This video is for you. If you are a distiller and you're thinking about trying to buy yourself, get a gift for yourself going into Christmas, there's an idea. Or perhaps you've passed this video on to someone else to give them ideas on what to buy you, something like that. In true Still fashion, this is a little on the late side. So getting stuff delivered in time for Christmas might be might be kind of borderline. But nothing wrong with getting distilling presents for New Year's, right? Anyway, what I'm going to do is break these down into kind of really rough price categories so you can use the what's it down there on the playhead to jump around to the different chapters if you are looking for something in a specific price range. But I think what I want to do is get the pricey stuff out of the way first. And the first product I want to talk about is, well, it's actually got nothing to do with distilling and kind of everything to do with distilling. And that's actually a laser cutter. This is the xTool D1 Pro 20 watt laser. I've been looking for a laser cutter for a while, both to mess around with for distilling stuff for Still It and for my wife's business. And when this one came out, I had my eyes on it for a couple of different reasons. One, it just seems like a much more slick overall product. It's just put together a whole lot better than some of the competition in the price range. And two, because it is a diode laser, which makes it a bit more accessible on a kind of a gantry setup like this. But it is super freaking grunty. 20 watts for a diode laser is pretty nuts. These have only just kind of broken the market, I guess, in the last 6-8 months. So I was tempted to buy one of these bad boys for the business. And xTool reached out while I was thinking about it and said, hey, would you like to put this thing in a video? And I said, yes. Full disclosure, they did send me the product. No, they're not sponsoring me. No money's changing hands. They don't even know that I'm making this video right now, but the link in the description is an affiliate link. And that same thing goes for a lot of the products in this video. No one's paying me anything to say this. No one knows that this video is going out. But some of the links in the description down below, where possible, are affiliate links. All of that stuff out of the way. What does the laser do? Well, to be honest, I haven't really played with the stuff that I want to play with it yet. I think the first real thing I'm going to make for Still It is perhaps some sort of tool rack to hold hydrometers, refractometers, alchemeters, all of those sort of things that just kind of, look, they're just sitting around random and filthy because they're sitting in random cuts jars. What I have done is just had a quick play with some of the, typical merchy kind of stuff that people do when they first get a laser. Bottle opener with the Chase the Craft logo all over it. Coasters. Cut these out a couple of days ago. And I gotta say, 20 watts goes through 4mm ply like it is freaking butter. I'm hoping this stuff can cut like 12 to 14mm MDF. That'd be really cool for making router jigs and stuff like that, actually. But the one main actual product thing I've made is a book stand for my wife to send out to shops with the books. She started like a family supply store business. She's just published her first book. So I'll put a link down below for this as well. If you're in America, it's on Amazon. If you're in New Zealand, you can buy it direct from us, a signed copy. So why am I putting this on the list for distillers? Because I have a hunch that you people at home watching this, part of the reason you're into this hobby is because you like tinkering. You like just doing random stuff. And the mind boggles at the possibilities that you could make with having your own laser cutter. And I'm looking forward to experimenting with this next year. It clocks in at about $2 American, but I do believe they've got a really solid sale on at the moment. So if you're interested, now's not a bad time to pick one of these up. Link down there. Next product in the pricey category is a standalone mashing or brewing system. Why? Well, because if you're into distilling and you have a taste for anything that's made with grain, things are going to go a whole lot easier if you have a standalone system to do that with. Now, there's 3 products I want to mention here, and that is the Clawhammer system, the Kegland system, the Brewzilla, and the Grainfather. I've used the first 2, and I love them both for slightly different reasons. And the third I've never tried, but I've heard good things about. I'm hoping to get my hands on one soon to compare. Let's talk Brewzilla first. I have one. I've been using it. I enjoy using it. I haven't done a review yet. I will when it is broken in fully, and I know the system a bit better, but I've used it enough to know that I could recommend it. They do go a little bit on the pricey side, and they are more easily available in Australia and New Zealand. There'll be a link in the description down below. The main draw for me on this one is it feels a little bit more truly plug and play than the Clawhammer supply system. But the Clawhammer supply system is the one that I'm going to recommend if you are in America, because I know you can get it. And the bang for buck that you get, I think, is probably better than the other systems. It is slightly more modular. You know, there's more different pieces that kind of sit in different places. The downside is it is slightly less plug and play. You don't just kind of take it out of the box and it works. You're going to have a pump sitting somewhere different. You're going to have the power controller sitting over here. Things are put together more with tri-clamps and hose clamps, that kind of thing. So the downside is it's a little bit more effort to think about how to run it. The positive side is that now you have all that equipment that is modular that you can use in a whole lot of other ways. So if you're the sort of person that just kind of wants to pay for tech and for it to work, maybe something like a Brewzilla or a Grainfather. If you like playing around with equipment and being able to, you know, nut out different ways that you can put things together like Lego and have it do a different function, I'd go Clawhammer. Let's jump from the most expensive category down to the cheapest category, which I'm calling stocking stuffers, because I think this might be where it's at. And the first category of things is not sexy, but hear me out, it makes sense. And that is random, generic, measuring shit. Funnels, measuring jugs, teaspoons, measuring cups, all of this kind of stuff. And why do I put this on the list? Well, I'm guessing that in your house right now, you have all of this stuff and it lives in the kitchen. And people are constantly getting in trouble because this stuff goes missing. And you never know whether it's in the dishwasher, in the junk drawer down the bottom, or is out in the shed or in the garage. Cheap stuff to buy. You're going to be using it all the time in the distillery, and having your own set that you can't get in trouble for using or forgetting to wash is it's going to make everyone involved happier. If you're in America, obviously Amazon, links down there. New Zealand, Australia, I don't know, something like Briscoe's or dude like The Warehouse, Kmart, that sort of stuff. And if you're not the distiller and you're buying for a distiller, glass or stainless. Glass and stainless everything. Next up in the stocking stuffer category is, if you're a distiller, you're into aged spirits, you need quality oak. Barrels are awesome, but they're kind of expensive and they don't fit in the stocking. So, Chase the Craft Maturation Sticks. They're finally available, guys. The website is live. There'll be a link down there for it. We're kind of in beta testing with the website here, so just be a little bit patient. But these are shipping from both New Zealand and Texas. So wherever you are, you should, I hope, when you check into the website, see the stock that is closest to you and you can purchase from there. But like I say, if you're into aging spirits, using quality oak that has actually been seasoned, that you know where it actually came from and how it's been treated is key. And this stuff is being supplied by Ben at Badmo Barrels. It's the same stuff he uses to make his barrels, so you know it's good shit. Let's move on to the next category, which is ingredients. And for stocking stuffers, I don't suggest putting multiple kilos or pounds of grain or molasses. I would say focus on interesting flavoring or botanical type ingredients that you know that you're interested in, or whoever this is that you're buying for is interested in, and maybe get something that's a little bit more bougie than they would normally get, or get something that's specifically local to a certain area. But the product I'm using as an example today is Bartender's Blend Coffee. My buddy Rockwell has teamed up with Anders, you know, the guy that does cocktails on YouTube. Awesome channel, check it out if you haven't. But their focus is to create kick-ass coffee, specifically to be paired and used with alcohol, which is pretty freaking cool. There'll be a link in the description down below. They gave me the offer of an affiliate link. I turned it down and instead said give a discount to you. So there is a discount if you use that link down there. But I have a question for you guys. I obviously have some kick-ass coffee sitting here, and obviously it needs to be used in conjunction with alcohol somehow. So what do you want to see me make? And the last thing I'm going to put on this list is enzymes. If you're the distiller, you will at least know that these things exist and kind of what they're used for. If you're not, you're probably not going to know. But I would suggest looking out for a few different types. Alpha amylase, high temp alpha amylase, beta glucanase, and glucoamylase. They are the 4 that I would suggest you try and get hold of to stick in the stuffing. And once you have it, you're going to have to use it. Either you're using it already and more is good, or you're not using it, and that'll be a nice little kick in the pants to try a new technique. So let's head back up to the top of the price list for roughly kind of the under $500 range American. And the first thing on the list is the EasyDens. I got sent this recently. Once again, they don't know I'm making this video. It's not sponsored, so on and so forth. I'm telling you what I actually think, blah, 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 blah. But I have been using this extensively ever since I got it, and I absolutely love it. It is pricey. It's like $400 American, or $380, I think, at the moment. Would I have paid that money myself before? No, I wouldn't have. After using it a bunch, I don't know. I think if this one broke and I had to buy my own, I would seriously consider it. Gives you the ability to do small 2 mil readings for gravity, so both initial gravity, starting gravity, whatever you want to call it, final gravity and fermentation in between. It's great for taking a quick test, cooling it down real quickly because it's only 2 mils, banging it in here while you're mashing to see if you're hitting your numbers. During fermentation, obviously, but the cool thing is it also does alcohol. So it'll give you your percentage alcohol in a binary solution, which once again, great for when you're taking cuts off the still, awesome for proofing and for troubleshooting any of your processes as well. I love this thing. It sends all the data direct to your phone. It stores it. It's pretty damn cool stuff. For less cash than the EasyDens, you can pick up a mini still. Here's the first one I'm recommending. Hold on, where's the second one? There it is. Here's the second one. This is the Air Still by Still Spirits. You can purchase this from chasethecraft.com in New Zealand. Sorry, I haven't figured out in America yet. And this is a cheap mini pot still off, where was it? AliExpress. They both do pretty much exactly the same thing. This one is about half the price. Why am I showing you both? Because there's kind of 2 different ways to look at this. This is an appliance. It's basically like a coffee maker. You pull it out, you plonk it on the bench, you put shit in it, you turn it on, it works. That is what this does awesome. The lack of the need for flowing water means that you can just pull it out, slap it down, get it running. That's pretty awesome. The other thing I like about this is that it is, I wouldn't advertise it as a feature, but it's pretty damn scorch resistant. I've put some weird stuff in this, and it has yet to actually scorch anything to the point where it's ruined a batch. Some coloration on the bottom of the still? Sure. Other than that, it's pretty freaking solid. But for half the price, you can get this bad boy. It's actually got a larger volume. You heat it directly with gas, so you've got more control over the temperature you're putting in. You put water through the condenser, so you've got control over that as well. But as you can see, it's very dusty. It's been sitting in the corner and I've hardly used it because it's a pain in the ass, because you need gas and you need water, which is why we use this one. I can't find links to exactly this unit because I don't think they exist anymore. But I'll put a link for the closest thing I can find down there. Either of these stills will be amazing for someone that's trying to get into the hobby and not sure if they want to, totally commit and spend thousands of dollars on equipment. But the great news is that if you do upgrade equipment later on, these things won't be obsolete. You're always going to want a tiny little still to run a 1 liter test of a new gin recipe you have, or mess around with a new ingredient that you can throw into the pot. Or in the vapor path, there's ways to rig it up with this, and this actually has a little vapor path basket thingy that screws into the lid. You're just always going to end up using these things. They're great. Barrels. We already talked about aging spirits. The same thing goes for this. Good wood is the be-all, end-all in my mind. So the one barrel that I'm going to recommend that you can buy internationally is this one, Badmo Barrel. I love these things so much that I went to visit Ben in Oregon. We made a video about that. Like I said, we're working together on these things. And I love using them. So these are right around $100 American, but the shipping does get a little bit pricey depending on where you're going to. That's why they're in this category and not the under $100 category. If you're in New Zealand and you're looking for one, you can buy one from Chase the Craft, and they're in stock here in New Zealand. The other option is to go with mini barrels that kind of look like this. I like these as well. The trade-off is that, especially if you're going smaller than this, like if you're going down to a 10, 5, definitely anything smaller than that litre barrel, you're going to have to take the spirit out of the barrel sooner than you would in this. You'll be able to age in this the same amount of time as you would in like a full-size 200-litre barrel. Find someone that you trust and other people have bought barrels from, because there's a bunch of freaking cowboys out there selling stuff that you can supposedly age spirits in that have no business having spirits in them. There was a thread on the Firewater Reddit a little while ago about a dude who found chipboard, of all things, as a material on the inside of something similar to this. This one came from Barry's Barrels here in New Zealand. Everyone I've talked to has had a good experience buying from them, but obviously that's only good for New Zealand. So sorry guys, can't suggest a supplier overseas. All right, let's take things under $100 and start with something that is slightly over $100. This is $125, $120, $119, somewhere around there, from Clawhammer Supply. And this is the mill that I am using the most at the moment. Quick tip on mills like these, don't use them for whole corn. You'll mess them up. So I do actually have a second one over there that is already slightly messed up that I use for more chunky stuff. If you're not initiated on this sort of thing, when you're buying, especially barley, but any grain really, you can generally buy it, especially from a home store, either whole or crushed. The downside to buying the crushed stuff is that you have to use it faster. It's just going to lose its awesomeness much quicker, which means you have to buy in smaller quantities, which means it's more expensive. So buying one of these things means you can buy a 20-kilo sack of your favorite, 2 or 3 different grains, have them sitting there in an airtight, bucket, whip them out and crush them as you need. This one's my favorite at the moment, so I'll link this one down in the description. So let's truly go down under $100. And honestly, most of these things fall into a category where you can get them for 20 bucks if you want to, or you can spend like $95 on them if you want to. Just depends whether it's the kind of thing that's important to you. I'm not going to go through prices for all of them. Like I say, they vary a buttload, but obviously links down there. So that's not very exciting, is it? It's a pot. It is just a pot, but it is a large volume pot and it's made of stainless steel. So you are going to be using stuff like this in a distillery a bunch. Having extra pots that you can heat water up in, or heat whatever up in. You can never have enough available hot water in a distillery, a home distillery I mean, I've found anyway. They're also great for collecting into off the still if you're doing stripping runs, collecting hearts once you hit the hearts runs. Excellent for proofing in, for storing your low wines in while you're running the low wines so you can move over to the spirit run. It's the same as the stuff we talked about earlier on. Having your own stuff that you can keep in the distillery that isn't going to be stolen to make, the stew on the weekend or whatever is great. No one's going to be arguing with each other. Trust me, you can never have enough of these things in a distillery. Next up, scales. And for me, there's 2 kind of extremes you want to go to here. One is the, high, what do you call it? Like high weight, high volume. I don't know. They can measure, like 50 or 60 kilos. And to me, having the readout separate over here is great because you can pop this down here, put a giant bucket on top and still be able to actually see what you're freaking doing. This is one end of the scale. The other is small, accurate jeweler scales type things for measuring botanicals, nutrients, yeast, salts and salts additions, all of that sort of stuff. I think I spent $9 on this thing. I've had it for maybe 3 years and I have beat the crap out of this. I straight up dropped this thing in water, aired it out, and it's still kind of working. But to be honest, I probably need to get myself another one. It's getting a little bit sketchy. Some of the buttons don't press. And I think I spent like $60 in New Zealand on this thing. I don't think I mentioned, but this is great for, weighing out grain. You need 14 kilos of something so much easier to do it with this in a giant bucket than weigh out 1 kilo 14 times, if you get my drift. Anyway, you understand. And of course, I feel like we have to mention like glassware and drinkware in general. Flasks are cool. I'll be honest, I barely use mine. Maybe that's because I'm a hermit and I never go anywhere. But what I do use all the time is a Glencairn. In my opinion, it is the king of nosing glasses. Whiskey glass, absolute king. I love it for rum. Honestly, most spirits, if I'm going to try it and try and like pull apart what I actually think of the spirit, I'm going to go to one of these. But a rocks glass is awesome too. Obviously, you know, you got to have an old-fashioned or something like that every now and again, right? And lastly, the kind of the measuring stuff for the tools of the trade. Refractometer for gravity. These things are awesome. If you haven't used one, they're amazing for the mash. And obviously, you know, 20 bucks, 30 bucks is a whole lot cheaper than 380. Just be aware you can't use this to figure out the ABV of your wash after it's fermented unless you use some serious math or a conversion calculator. They don't work. They'll be reading numbers that make no sense unless you use the math. And you can get refractometers for alcohol as well, once again only for binary solution, and it works. I've only seen them from 0% to 80%, but they're still very helpful. Once again, being able to take, you know, a couple of drops to see where you're at down in your tails for proofing things, pretty freaking awesome. Obviously, you can go with the hydrometer style tools that do the same as well. So this one's a hydrometer for testing gravity, or for us, basically that tells us how much sugar is in something. Not quite, but yes, that's what it does. And this one is exactly the same concept. It's just measuring the density of the liquid, but we're assuming that it's a binary water and alcohol, so it can tell us what percent ABV or proof it is. These are great as well. They break all the time. So if you're using them, having an extra 1 or 6, you know, is quite handy. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully, if you're looking for a present for a distiller, or you wanted to buy something yourself, something on this list stood out in terms of something that you're after and in your price point. Enjoy and have an awesome holiday season. I've got another couple of videos to come out. Don't worry, we're not doing a giant fast this year, but there will be less videos coming out through January. Anyway, I'll catch you next time, guys. Keep on chasing the craft. See ya.